Hello and welcome to Climbing Daily. We recently interviewed Tom Randall about his trip to the White Rim in Utah, where he found the Crucifix Project. Well, since we spoke to him, he's returned to the White Rim for a full-on crack climbing mission. We thought it was time for a catch-up.
Hi, I'm Tom Randall, and I'm just come back from the States, where I've been out in Utah with Pete Whittaker doing some crack projects and trying the Crucifix Project as well. We were out there for about a month or so, and we were putting up first ascents and mostly looking for, I guess we'd call them monster cracks, really, really big cracks. Millennium Arch is maybe not even what you could call a normal climb. It's like architecture. It's like climbing under the underside of a cathedral roof or something. It's so massive that it doesn't really work within normal climbing rules, and normal length ropes don't work. You kind of can't comprehend the size that you are climbing on, and yeah, it's just massive, really, really big. I think we spent 4 days working it and getting from one end to the other by aiding it and things, and then we had 2 days red pointing it. Out of 30 days that we were out there, I think we had around 20, maybe 22 days in the desert. I absolutely love it out there. It's such a nice remote place, away from all the normal conveniences of life. You have to carry your own water in, your own food in, you're living out the back of a truck, and with bivy bags, tents, things like that. Just such a special place. I love it. Because everything's in a cave and it's away from the sun, you're more really factoring in a good ambient air temperatures. So the time of year we go, which is either spring or autumn, it's very best because it's quite cool in the shade, but not overly cool. And yeah, it would be boiling hot if we were in the sun, but the routes are never ever in the sun. It's, yeah, caving but climbing. Well, the first trip was what I would call a walking/climbing trip. Basically, it was way too much walking, and me and Pete felt like we got injured the amount of exploring we did. And so we did more or less find all of the projects that were worthwhile on the White Rim, and I think since then we've just found one other, pretty significant big project. So we've more or less explored the whole lot. The funniest one was the first day we went down, and me and Pete said, right, let's just get into this area, ease it in, take it slowly. And we went down to where the Crucifix is, and there were these 2 roof cracks that were maybe, I think about 40 or 50 foot long, something like that. Not too big. And went, let's just do those as warm-ups. We'll on-site them, do them as like on-site first ascents. They'll probably be about 512, high 512, something like that. And both of us thought they were absolutely desperate, and they required quite a bit of effort to do, which kind of is an indication of what it's like to try and hang upside down on a roof crack at whatever length it is. It's not that easy, even if you do loads of training. Even to our friends who know us really well, it's difficult to explain how much of a level up or a leap in crack climbing standards it is compared to all the other things that we've done or tried. And to do that, you just got to go back to the drawing board and make some significant gains in certain areas. And because me and Pete have spent so long specialising in crack climbing now, we're onto this whole process of decreasing returns, and for every unit of training that we're putting into all of this, we're getting a really, really small amount back now. So it's it's going to be a long time. There's no way it was ever going to happen this year. It might not happen next year. It could be the year after. So on this trip, Pete and I were working with photographer Mike Hutton, and he spends all of his time on one side of the lens and us on the other side. And we decided to flip it round the other way for one of the last days on the trip. And it would be kind of iconic to get that shot where, I think it's in one of the magazines or the books in America, where they've got a lady who's wearing no clothes at all with a big set of cams all over her body covering all the important parts. And we did the same for Mike, and I loaded him up with this big rack around his neck, and he'd taken all his clothes off and everything. Firstly, I was madly trying to throw his boxer shorts off the edge of the cliff so he was left abandoned, but I couldn't quite manage that. But Pete was filming this whole process at the same time on his iPhone, and on one side I had the camera that I was taking the photos pointing at a certain direction, trying to kind of cover Mike's modesty, but from the other angle with Pete on this iPhone, oh man, you should see some of the shots. It's not pretty. There is, well, there's some special stuff in there. We now have a lattice board that's up as a commercial facility in the foundry in Sheffield. This is one of the very first walls that we put it into the UK, and it's kind of like the obvious place for us to do this. Home of indoor climbing in the UK. It's one of the most well-established walls with people like Moon, Moffat, McClure, all training at this facility, and people that we've also worked with as clients. And having that board there, working with these individuals and others, it's just a really rewarding process to see something come to light.
Thanks, Tom. The trip looked awesome, but the Crucifix Project is still waiting for a send. This story isn't finished yet. On tomorrow's show, we have an exclusive interview with Anthony Goldstein, where he tries to climb this 8B+ in Arco. Make sure you come back for that. See you soon.